Hey everyone, this is Zipporah from Noble Desktop. Today we're going to be learning how to use Bezier handles in this Shooting Stars tutorial. And what Bezier handles are if you've ever used like the pen tool, there are, you see these handles that appear out from our shape. And you see them on motion paths, you see them on vectors that you import because they are an important part of vectors. And they're actually, nobody really talks about them much, but they can be kind of tricky for people who've never really been introduced to the concept. So in this tutorial, we're going to be going over a couple of different ways to use them. So the first thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to be finding in the file that you're given, you're going to be finding the layer called stars. You're going to double click that. Then let's make sure that playhead's all the way at the beginning. Now, we don't actually see the stars right now because they are off the screen. You see these purple boxes, but we're going to be animating them so that they appear on the screen. So the first thing that we're going to be doing, we're going to be going from left to right with these stars. So we're going to click on the leftmost star, right? We hit P for position. And let's see, we're going to want our values to be at -95 and 580, which they happen to be over here. If they're not, then you type these in and hit the stopwatch to start keyframing. Now, the second thing that we're going to do is let's move our playhead to about 1 minute and 24 seconds in. Let's keep going. Sorry about that. Now let's hit the... You could either hit the diamond shape here to add another keyframe, or we could just input new values here that'll automatically set a keyframe. I'm going to want my new values to be 165, and the other one is going to be 210. So it's a pretty direct line. If we play it back, you'll see, yeah, pretty direct. You can also click and drag the star to set that keyframe. But I'm just going to be using exact values for this. And you'll see that there's already like some effects applied to the star, but don't worry about that. For the purposes of this tutorial, we're really going to be focusing on how to use Bezier handles. Now, it's not a very interesting path of motion, just kind of like going back and forth like that. So the great thing about Bezier handles is that they can make paths of motion, one of the things they could do, much more interesting. And all you need are just 2 keyframes. Now, I do want this to be an easy ease keyframe, so we're going to drag a marquee over both, or you could shift click on both, right click on any selected keyframe, and go to keyframe assistant, easy ease in. So that'll kind of give us a bit more of a smooth motion. But I really want this path of motion to be interesting. So I'm going to click on the leftmost point of my Bezier handle. I happen to let's see, I'll move the star over there just so I could see it. So if it's not already selected, I'm going to click on the leftmost Bezier, like the leftmost point. You could either do that by selecting the leftmost keyframe or the leftmost Bezier point on the star's motion path. And you see this dot over here? That's going to actually be what we're manipulating in order to move our Bezier handles around. So I'm going to click on this dot and I'm going to click and drag. And I am going to, let's see, I want it to move really out far to the right, a little bit up, and then I'm going to let go. So I've got that one. Then I'm going to click on this point, the next point in the star's motion path, which is the only point left. And the dot's over here. See that? So by manipulating this, I can change where the star is going to go. I want this one to be a little bit like that. So I kind of have a backwards C shape. It boomerangs out and around. So let's play this back. Whoa. So After Effects did skip a couple of frames. That happens now and then. Just in the playback, but it will be fine once you render it out. There you go. See? Yeah, sometimes it's finicky like that. And then, okay, so we have that one done. So you see, all we have is 2 keyframes, but that's all we needed in order to get this done. So let's keep going. Let's go to the middle star. We hit P for position after I've selected it. And I'm going to want this to be 24 seconds. Let's get you over to 24 seconds about. You could also type it in here. And I want my position for this one to be 1846. Please listen to me, thank you. 1846. and 509. It was basically there, but I wanted to be very exact. I hit stopwatch to set a keyframe. Then, let's see, so I'm going to move to about 2 minutes and 2 seconds in. Almost there, a little further. There we go. And then I'm going to change my position to 608 and 121. Okay, so again, you see it's kind of got that very direct, very plain. It just kind of slides into place, but we could do better than that. I do want it to be smooth, so I'm going to select both. I drag a marquee over both, or I could shift click both. Right click on any selected keyframe, go to Keyframe Assistant, easy ease in. There we go. Now it's nice. It's going to be a nice smooth animation. But now let's make it interesting. So I am going to click on, I'm going to deselect both of them, and then I'm just going to click on my first keyframe in the timeline, or I could just click that point over there, the beginning point over here. I'm going to click and drag on this dot, and I want this thing to go all the way to the left, kind of the opposite direction that our first one did, a little bit down. And then I could either click this keyframe in the timeline, or I'm just going to click directly on the last point in this animation. And I have this Bezier dot right to this handle. And right like before, if we move it around, it does what I want. And then, let's see, I want this to be a nice, more of a smooth C-shaped curve. So I'm going to move it out a little bit like that to the left. And then let's hit playback. Whoa, very nice. Moves a little bit quicker than the other one because there's less space between our keyframes. That's just what we want. Last one, click the right star layer. Let's move our playhead back in time to 113 because I'd like this motion to be overlapping. We're going to hit P on the keyboard for position. We're going to set a keyframe. And I want my values here to be -105 and 673, which I do happen to have set over here. But if that wasn't the case, you could just type these in, or you could drag it to the lower left, just off the composition frame. Then, let's see, I want, let's go to 2 minutes and 16 seconds in. 2 minutes, 16 seconds in, go a little further, there we go. And now I want my values here. Let's see, I think this one should be at 1131. And 216. There we go. I like that. And I'm going to drag a marquee over both, or you could shift click both. I'm going to go right click either selected keyframe, go to Keyframe Assistant, easy ease in, nice smooth, it's a nice smooth motion, right like before. But again, we could do better than this. Let's see. And let's grab the first Bezier handle, and I want this one to kind of do a squiggle like that. Yeah, like a little bit of a hill shape. And then let's grab the other dot, right, because it's still visible. Let's grab the other dot, the other Bezier handle. And let's say I want this one more of an S shape like that. I like that better. And, yeah, and if we play the whole thing, well, so After Effects did that bit of a jump, but don't worry. Sometimes it needs to play the whole thing first before it plays the animation smoothly. Come on. But should After Effects be a little bit, non-compliant, we're just gonna, you could just scrub through the timeline in order to get the same effect, and you can see, right, all of them slide in together. That's exactly what we want, nice and smooth. All right, we're basically done. Now, there's one last thing we can do. Now, if you aren't seeing, like, these set of switches, you're going to go down to toggle switches and modes. Like, if this is what you're seeing with, like, the track mats and these modes down here, click on toggle switches mode, toggle switches and modes, and shift click all your star layers. And this is motion blur, these 3 circles. We're going to click on any selected layer in the motion blur box, and that will, as the name suggests, give us a nice bit of motion blur to our animation. Right. There you go. Now, the reason why we do this at the end, because you can see After Effects is struggling a bit to keep up. It'll look fine in the render. but it's just hard for the program to constantly implement motion blur while we're animating. So things like effects and stuff, those really should go on at the end. But yeah, this is what it looks like, and that's what Bezier handles do. And now if you also look at like each of these layers, they only have 2 keyframes each, which is great. So now let's go back to main comp over here. And if we scrub through our timeline, we can see that, yep, our animation plays with our new star animation now going in those very nice, interesting motion paths. And that's it. I hope you found this useful.